This is The Lunch Break with Zach and Dana on ESPN 106.7.
And it's Wednesday, so Wednesday means our Coach's Corner.
Yes. And, when we first started this, we've had all Auburn University current coaches
and
on
that, that wasn't the intention of it.
No, it just kind of happened to be how it fell. We wanted to get, in touch with some of the fall sports. A lot of the winter sports are starting to rev up, so we'll get into those as well. You had fall baseball and softball, so that's how we got, Coach Thompson and Coach Myers in on here.
Right.
But if you were ever called a coach, you are welcome on the Coach's Corner.
That's right. And especially if you're a Hall of Fame football coach.
That's even more important.
That's
I
right.
think.
And so today we're joined by Coach Pat Dye. Coach, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. I was in the jaw Saturday and Sunday, but I got out of the jaw Monday.
Yeah.
I said I ain't gonna live like this. I said I got to get my mojo back, I came to town. I do an article for Inside Auburn Tigers every Monday, and I said I ain't gonna live like this. The only thing, when you get beat like that, the first thing you got to do is get up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
that's right.
You got to get up, and you want to get up stronger than you were when you got knocked down.
Sure.
And you keep getting up, and then finally you'll win.
Yeah.
You'll be knocking somebody else down.
Right.
And but I hurt Saturday and Sunday. Now probably
sure.
The Georgia game. Well, I just my life hinged around Amen Corner.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
When I was coaching here, when you beat Florida, Georgia, and Alabama, you won the conference championship. We tied Tennessee in '87 and won those last three, and won the conference championship. And so and this is now we don't play Florida, but playing Georgia and Alabama, ending the season like we do. If you win those two games, you're gonna be good enough to win the conference championship.
Yeah.
I'll go to Atlanta anyway. Now we weren't doing that when I finished my career, but you go to championship game. I think Tennessee's probably in a sweat. They don't know whether they want Florida to win or lose or not.
Sure.
That's an odd feeling.
Yeah, that is a weird feeling.
Yeah, they. So anyway, it's we got 3 games left to play.
Sure.
And it'll be interesting to see how this team reacts and responds, and I'd be shocked if they don't get ready to play Saturday against Alabama A&M and go to Tuscaloosa and
right.
give our best shot up there. And
well, you talked about when you're knocked down, you have to get back up. So as a football team, what does Auburn need to do, and what does Coach Malzahn need to do to ultimately, play well Saturday and then carry that momentum into the Iron Bowl?
Well, we're going to have to play some new people Saturday because we got so many folks hurt, and that's a good thing. It's good for the quarterback because we don't know whether Sean White will be ready to play Saturday or the next week or when he'll be ready to play. So it's going to be between Jeremy Johnson and Franklin.
Right.
And, being able to play a game like this before we play Alabama would certainly be good for them. But the running back situation is just as critical. And, you gotta love Kerryon Johnson for playing, because he's played hurt since what Clemson game or whenever he's played.
It was early. Yeah, it was probably around. Cause I think Mississippi State was when he actually got hurt.
Okay. Well, he's played hurt ever since, and he's averaged right at 100 yards a game. When he was the guy.
Yeah.
And we don't know whether Petway's going to be back or not.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see him this week. And
I know we won't see him this week, but
it'll be even interesting for Iron Bowl.
Yeah, that's right. And so they're a wounded team, but sometimes a wounded team will hurt you. So we just see. They're still my team.
Yeah.
My coaches are my team, and I love the coaches, and I love the players, and the thing that I see when I get around them is the coaches like each other, and the players like the coaches, and coaches like the players, and players like each other. They they got all the right ingredients. We just got off to a rough start, and then had that thing Saturday. But so that leaves those folks picking the top 4 teams in the country on a pickle, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They can't be right.
Yeah, they're gonna make somebody mad.
Yeah. But if they had 8 teams, they wouldn't.
Yeah, and that's something you've talked about for a long time.
I said from the very beginning, and they said it extends the season. Well, it extends the season for 2 teams. For 2 teams, they would play 1 extra game, and the 4-team playoff right now, they play 2 extra games. The ones that make the finals.
Right.
If they went to 8 teams, they'd play 3 games, and there's enough intelligence in the NCAA and the commissioners and the athletic directors and people that make the decisions to come up with a format to where they could have a 8-team playoff and not do anything but enhance the bowl games. Instead of having 2 teams, now the 2 teams go to bowl games in the playoff, don't they?
Right.
They're decided in a bowl game somewhere. However, they would have 4 that were decided in a bowl game.
More people would watch that. More money. Sure.
More money. More interest in those 4 games, and it would give. Another thing, and I always got a soft spot in my heart for teams like East Carolina, Boise State, teams that are not in the Power 5,
right?
That have an exceptional season, and now Houston was headed in that direction, weren't they?
Yeah.
And so it, if one of them has a phenomenal year, it allows them to get in the playoffs. They probably wouldn't win it, but at least it gives them a chance.
Sure.
Yeah.
In the format that we have right now, they got no chance.
Sure.
And they're gonna have a hard time, to me, picking the best 4 teams, and all. You know what? I don't know. On the West Coast, I watched Southern Cal in Washington, and I think Southern Cal may be the best team on the West Coast.
Yeah, they manhandled Washington.
I'm telling you. They really did, and on both sides of the football.
Yeah,
and that quarterback they got is playing lights out.
Southern Cows.
Oh yeah, yeah. And he didn't start early in the season. I don't know when he started starting, but I think it's after they lost those 3 games, didn't he?
I don't know.
Yeah, they kind of snuck up on me.
Yeah.
I kind of wrote them off at the beginning of the year, and then all of a sudden they started making this surge, kind of honestly around like when Auburn was making their surge, like in that mid-season. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, Southern Cal's doing some really good things. I wanted to ask you, Coach, and if you're just tuning in, we're talking to Coach Pat Dye, who is our coach on the Coach's Corner this week. Zach and I were talking a few weeks ago, or I think earlier this week, actually, with the way that the playoffs are set up and the bowl games and how that all goes. You get a month, if you're one of those top 4 teams, you get a month to prepare for your semifinal game.
Yeah.
And then you only get a week, essentially, to prepare for your final opponent. And then even that week is crazy with media availabilities and just all of the action that goes off behind the game. Do you think, I mean, especially as a coach, that it's fair that that's set up? Because you would want just as much time to prepare for your final game, that maybe they should move the semifinal up and give 2 weeks to prepare for the semifinal and then another 2 weeks and spread it out? Or what do you think about that?
Well, I think that probably would be a better format. But if they did that, they would have to work around the bowl games.
Yes, and the bowl games don't want to move with money and TV and all that, and I get that part too.
They, so I don't know the right know the right format for that, but they could play 4 games and play 1 in 2 weeks and 1 in 3 weeks and give them a week for the last one. And but and there's some cities out there that they wouldn't be the old original bowl games, But there's a lot of bowl games out there in cities big enough now, and venues big enough to where they would move that bowl game to an earlier date in order to have two of the top 8 teams in the country playing there for a bowl game. If they wanted to put bowl on it,
Sure.
If they wanted to just keep it as a playoff and NCAA. And it wouldn't be a bad idea. It wouldn't be a bad idea for pick 8 teams, and then 8 would play 1, 6 would play, or 7 would play 2. And,
Right.
Okay, it wouldn't be bad for those top 4 teams to play that first game at their home on their home field.
Almost kind of like a high school football playoff format.
Yeah.
You get a top 4 seed and you get to host.
Yeah, that's right.
Or like in the NFL or pretty much any other kind of sport in the playoffs.
Really.
If you get the higher seed, you're hosting.
And I get what Coach
if
saying.
you're good enough to go in there and beat them, then you deserve to move
Yeah,
up.
absolutely. And I understand not moving the bowl games because it's hard to imagine a Rose Bowl not on New Year's Day. And now, granted, this year it's January 2nd because January
Sunday,
1st falls on a Sunday. But you don't want to move. I understand where you don't want to move those games. I just find it. And here's my thing right now. I think this would be a time for college football to kind of pounce on maybe extending those bowl games even through January. With NFL ratings the way they are, and college football seems to have a lot more appeal right now, especially. Why not try to extend that out and try to milk it for all it's worth?
Well, you get into the academics part of it then.
Yeah.
And that whether it is or not, you gotta set it up to where it appears that the academics are coming first.
Get that?
Yeah.
Fair point, Coach.
That's the
Fair
former
point.
AD talking right there.
About to say, I'm like, you went on a whole new level that I wasn't thinking of, Coach. Well played. Well played.
So, Coach, it's officially going to expand to 8 teams. I think the question is, at what point does that do that? Do you still think there should be a committee to pick those 8, or do you think there should be, if you win a Power 5 conference, that you have those 5 automatic bids, and then just kind of have 3 at large after that, and maybe have the committee pick those guys?
I think the committee is fine. What they're doing is fine.
Okay.
And a committee like that, they're gonna get it as close as anybody can get it.
Sure.
And we all got our opinions.
Yeah.
And I don't think they've missed. I don't think in the time that they've had the playoff. How many playoff games have they had? 2 or 3.
This is the 3rd year of it.
Yes.
3rd year coming up. Well, I don't think they've had. Alabama won 1, Ohio State won 1.
Sure.
And they. I think that ultimately the 2 best teams won the national championship. And it's a lot better than it was back when. When I was coaching, and there's never been a true national champion.
Sure.
And a lot of years they had 2 national champions.
Right.
So
yeah, and I think
what
even
we got is better than nothing, but it's still they could make it better with 8 teams rather than 4.
Yeah.
And then just suppose Southern Cal wins out,
Okay.
and then they play Washington and beat Washington again. Or Colorado, whoever else, that they might play in the championship game out there.
Right.
And basketball, it's not the team that's the best when the season starts. It's the team that has the best team when the season's over.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And Southern Cal could sure fit in that category based on what I saw Saturday night, playing on Washington's home field, and. They just kind of manhandled Washington.
Sure. All right, we're talking with Coach Pat Dye. We'll be back with more of the lunch break in just a few. You're listening to the lunch break.
This is the lunch break with Zach and Dana on ESPN 106.7. Coach Pearl, we appreciate you listening, but you might want to start thinking about today's practice plans.
Welcome back into the lunch break. Zach and Dana here with you, joined by Coach Pat Dye. Because we were kind of talking over the break how it's been kind of a weird season for the SEC.
Well, it's been extremely weird. there's not but one team in the conference without 3 losses, and I would say there's 14 teams. I would say 13 of them. The fans are frustrated. The coaches are frustrated.
Yeah.
The players and what have you. They can't be happy at Texas A&M. They can't be happy at Arkansas. They can't be happy at LSU. They fired the coach down there. Auburn, we started off in a disaster, and then Coach Malzahn righted the ship, and then we go to Athens and get beat in a game that we should have won and could have won, and like I said, I mean it's Florida. They've kind of been up and down. That quarterback's hurt, and of course they may have the best quarterback playing for them right now, better than the one that got hurt.
Right.
But I think LSU will beat them Saturday.
I do too.
Yeah.
And Kentucky's got to be frustrated. Vanderbilt, South Carolina may be excited about Will Muschamp and the job he's done because they're gonna get bowl eligible Saturday.
Yeah, that's crazy that they're going to be bowl. I mean, just being bowl eligible is a win for them this year.
Yeah. They are down talent wise at South Carolina, and it's going to take Will. But I've been impressed with the job that they've done, and looks like the little quarterback is for real and going. He'll just get better.
Yeah, he's the real deal.
No, it's interesting that when we talk about who's happy and who's not happy, and I feel like this year at the SEC has just been like an emotional roller coaster, pretty much for every team except Alabama. I mean, you brought up Kentucky, and at one point I thought they would probably be going through a coaching search, but honestly, 5-5 for Kentucky is pretty good. But they had a winnable game against Georgia that they didn't win, so that then kind of puts them back in that downward, doom and gloom, type situation.
Who's Kentucky got left to play?
I will look it up for you right now. That's my job here.
No, they beat Vanderbilt Saturday, didn't they?
They did.
I think so.
No, okay, so they lost to Georgia 2 weeks ago. They lost to Tennessee last week.
Okay.
They have Austin P this week, so
that's their bowl.
That's their bowl. That gets them bowl eligible.
Okay.
And then they, bless their hearts, they have Louisville. So Kentucky will get one more win this year.
That's right.
Well, I'll tell you what, they'll play Louisville better than people think they will.
Mm-hmm.
And you've seen Louisville; they struggled really hard against Wake last week, and Wake's not a good football team.
Yeah.
Well, you know what Louisville reminds me of?
What?
I think Louisville is an average football team. I really do.
Outside of their quarterback?
And they got Superman playing quarterback.
Well, that's what you compared Auburn's 2010 season to, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cam Newton took an average football team and won a national championship with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Nick Martin took one in 13 and went to the national championship game and came within 13 seconds of winning it. And now I said an average football team. We might have been a little better than average, and we had some good players on it. But the quarterback was the catalyst. And just look at the games Nick Marshall won in 2013. Mississippi State completed a pass for 11 seconds to go.
Sure.
Texas A&M got it 3rd and 8, and he throws it at. Makes a play on the wheel route.
Sure.
That he had to throw it. I mean,
Beautiful pass.
In a gallon bucket
Mm-hmm.
to get it caught, and the other guy not break it up, and then the Georgia game.
Sure.
He wins that. The Alabama game.
Yeah.
He scores from 45 yards out on our first touchdown, and then throws the touchdown pass that ties the game.
A lot of people forget about that last play because the kick six kind of overshadowed that. But yeah,
what people forget about is if it hadn't been Nosa Igwe blocking the field goal, none of it would have mattered because it would have been a 10-point game.
That's right.
And so there's a lot of plays. In course of before that, Carl Lawson made a play on 4th down. Mm-hmm. That was a game-changing play.
Yeah, and going back to our conversation about Lamar Jackson and you comparing him to Cam and Nick, where does he compare to those two quarterbacks in your mind?
I think he's in the same category.
You think he's in the same category as
yeah.
Cam?
Yeah, I sure
Wow.
do. Well, no, not only by results,
Okay.
not physically.
Sure.
Yeah.
And they didn't recruit him as a quarterback at Louisville. They recruited him as an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
They said if Coach Paterno, and this is what I'm told, looked at him on film and said, I don't know if he can play quarterback or not, but he can play somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And they recruited him. Auburn didn't recruit him. We probably could have signed him.
Yeah, and I've read and heard stuff that he was kind of looking for an Auburn.
Yeah.
Auburn trying to reach out to him, and
Yeah.
that didn't happen. So
I mean, but you can't. There's so many good ones out there. You can't take them all. You
Right.
got to pick the ones you think can come in and play and fit your style and personality and gonna be comfortable in the. Auburn's a little different than a lot of places, and all kids don't belong here.
yeah,
They prefer a big city,
Mm-hmm.
and this ain't a big city. This is
it's a town.
yeah.
Sure.
And the social life here is the students among the students.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, definitely.
and the way the conference is right now is so much parity when you get below where Alabama is, and Alabama's. I don't see anything changing there as far as that dominance is concerned. As long as Coach Saban's there and they're recruiting at the level they're recruiting at right now, they just, they just got more players and better players than anybody in the country.
That's right. I was wondering, and I've been kind of thinking this, as the season is winding down, 2 regular seasons left and obviously a bowl game. And I've been trying to do, like, in my head, like, my end of season awards or people, performance that has stuck out. Who would you say have been players that maybe surprised you or breakout players or anything on either side of the ball this year for Auburn?
Well, Petway.
I mean, a lot of people think that they saw that, you know what I mean? Like with Petway.
Well, I saw it 2 springs ago.
Yeah. Okay.
I've been, and he finally got his chance.
Yeah.
Why do you think he was not given a chance earlier at running back?
Well, I mean, you got to go in the coaching staff to find that out now.
Yeah.
And and he's a great kid.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
He's a great kid. I mean, but he'd be the first one that I'd pick out. And Sean White's had a great year.
Yeah.
The thing over in Athens was a disaster, but I mean, there's certainly a reason for it. And but he's had a really good year. Defensively, I think it's a kind of a group thing there. The most significant thing about our defense to me is we played good up front for the last couple of years since Coach Garner's been here. But our linebacker play left a lot to be desired, and Travis Williams and our linebackers have done a great job completing the defense.
I think people realized that against Vanderbilt when Trey was out with an injury and then Deshaun had to leave after that targeting call, and the defense didn't look the same. I think at that point people realized how much those guys are needed back there, and it's not just the play of Carl or Montravius or that front line.
They as a group they have just played so much better, and so I really think the coaching staff has done a great job with this football team, and with a different deal here there, they could be, they could have a better record, and. If we'd have started out the season with Sean White as hot as he's been since he became the quarterback, I don't know which one would have beat Clemson or Texas A&M one. It might have beat both of them.
Sure.
Because we played good enough against Clemson on defense to win the game.
Absolutely.
And they really, I think Pitt exposed them, but Alabama exposed them last year in the secondary. You remember how Alabama threw the ball up and down the field against Clemson last year?
Yeah.
Clemson, and one thing about it, I think we kind of exposed Clemson is with their running game. Because they didn't, they came in here and tried to run it, and they couldn't.
Sure.
and the quarterback has been kind of, up and down, and
Yeah.
he's turned it. He's got his yardage, but he's turned it over a number of times this year.
Man, that's something he really didn't do last year.
Well, it's he's still pretty good now.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
All right, Coach. Thank you so much for coming on with us.
Well,
you.
I know you got places to go.
Zach, we go back a ways, and appreciate what you've done for me in my other show, and then it's good to be with you.
Thank you very much,
and
Coach.
you got to quit grieving now.